This is Nelson Jett giving my analytical presentation for my analytical report for business communications 2018. The topic that I chose for my report is whether you should rent or buy a home. Kind of why I chose this topic is because I'm a real estate agent in North Platte here, and I get the question all the time whether people should rent or buy a home. And so a lot of it comes down to what I started my paper off with, and that is the top 3 things that people take into consideration when looking to rent or buy a home. So the top 3 things I started off with are budget, features, and time frame. Budget as far as people's income, people's jobs, how long they've been at their jobs, if they can get a loan on a home or not. A lot of the times I have found that people can rent a home easier than buying one, just because they don't have to have quite everything that you do to get a loan on a home, and it's a little bit easier to get into a rental than into buying your own home. Features that people are looking for, the top 3 that I have found are location of the property, the size of the property, and the price of the property, whether it is the price of the home or how much rent you're going to have to pay each month to live in that certain property. And the third one is time frame. A lot of rentals are available right away to move into. You can look at one on Monday and you can move in on Tuesday with most of them. And the thing with buying is it takes 30 to 45 days on average for a loan to close before you can move into that home. So a lot of people think that, well, renting is a little bit faster. I can get moved in a lot quicker than if I were to go purchase one and wait for a loan to close. But we'll look at that a little bit later into the paper. Then I moved right into, is renting better than buying? And I broke it down into 3 sections. The positives of renting, the negatives of renting, and some experiences from a local rental agent that I interviewed for this paper. Just a brief overview of this section. Some of the positives of renting are that you don't have to take care of any of the repairs or pay any of the repair bills. It's also a short-term commitment. Usually it's 1 to 2 years. Some are even less, 3 months, 6 months. You can do month to month, depending on what the lease is that you sign at the time. Also, the move-in deposits are usually much lower than paying a down payment on a home. I mean, you can pay $500 for a move-in rental payment and not have to pay the $5,000 that it might be to put a down payment on a smaller home. So those are some of the positives. Some of the negatives of renting, though, is that you can't build equity like you can on a home. When you buy a home, you can pay money and get that equity built up, so eventually you'll own the home and not have to pay anything at all. Renting is just not that. You're just paying to live in the property. You are not gaining anything by paying that monthly rent, except for a better credit score in that regards too, but you can also do that with a home. Another negative of renting is that there are some restrictions such as pets, noise, occupancy, things that you can do to the property. A lot of properties that are rentals, you can't paint, you can't hang things on the wall. It just depends. You can't change out the flooring if you don't like it. So there's a lot of those type of things that you can't do with a rental that you can do with a home. My next section is buying better than renting? I broke that down into 3 sections as well. Positives of buying, negatives of buying, and experiences from a real estate agent that I interviewed in North Platte as well. Some of the positives of buying a home are pride of ownership. You own the home after a certain amount of time and it is paid off. And over time you are paying on it, you are gaining more and more ownership on that home. With a home, you also have the potential for appreciation on the property as well. When you're renting a home, you don't really gain anything as far as appreciation on the property because it's not your property. But when you're renting a home, or when you're buying a home, you do gain that appreciation value. So when you go to sell it in 5 or 10 years, you will be able to sell it for more than you bought it, providing that you've kept up on the property and it still is in good condition. Some of the negatives of buying a home are you do have to handle all of the ownership responsibilities as far as maintenance and repairs. You take all the risk of anyone that comes onto your property, as in the other case, the landlord does. You have to mow your lawn and shovel your own snow. Some of the rentals have people to do that for them. And there's no trying to make a short-term commitment work. When you own your own home, you are there as long as you can keep paying on it. You don't have to find a new place to live after 1 year or 2 years. Also, when buying your own home, a con of it, though, is coming up with a down payment on a home. A lot of people think it's hard to come up with a down payment. Depending on your loan, you don't have to have a huge down payment for your home, but you will have to talk to a local lender about that when you go to try and purchase a home. Some experiences from a real estate agent. I interviewed Joanne Perlinger, who is also my teammate, and she works at Gateway Realty. She has been in the real estate business for over 22 years in North Platte, so she has a lot of experience of this type of stuff. I interviewed her, and she said that she has had many cases where people don't know whether they should rent or they should buy a home. Her best advice is that with the help of her and their lender, whoever they are using at the time to try to get a loan on a home, they can usually work it out to where these people can own their own home and buy a home and don't have to rent. Of course, Joanne, being a real estate agent, she had said that it is obviously better to buy a home than to rent one, because you do get that appreciation factor built up also along with your equity built up that you will have over time. The next section I did was based on a home price of $129,000, which is kind of an average home price in North Platte, which is smarter in the course of 2 years. So I broke that down into 2 sections. We kind of looked at the mortgage side of it and then the renting side of it. $129,000. Interest rates right now are about 5% according to one of our local banks here. I used Centris Bank in North Platte here to get that 5% from. With a 30-year loan that you would be paying on the home, your mortgage was around $700 a month. That I think the exact one was $692 a month. So you can actually see that it is a little bit of money to pay for your own home. But when I looked at the renting side of things, the rent on a $129,000 home, given that it is 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, which is usually what that price range kind of is, it would be around $825 up to $1,000 depending on the condition of the home to rent that home. So when you are looking at renting or buying a $129,000 home, your payment makes a huge difference between buying and renting. You can buy it for $629 a month versus renting it for $825 upwards to $1,000 a month. So, I mean, you can just kind of run the numbers there and see which one's smarter. But like I said before, every situation is different, so you will have to evaluate your situation at the time. In conclusion of my report, with all my findings and my data that I used and my sources that I used, I was right in the beginning, and my findings proved right that owning your own home is much smarter in the end than renting a home. And that's just because there are so many more pros out there to buying your own home than trying to rent one. Renting does have its place in the world, though. Coming from the rental agent I interviewed in North Platte, Shirley Kissinger, she said that it does have its place, and depending on your situation, it can be a very good thing. But she didn't disagree with me because she's also a real estate agent as well as a rental agent, that if you have the chance to buy your own home, it is a better option in the long run. So just make sure that you're evaluating your situation at the time and making a decision that is right for you. If you ever need any help with renting or buying, give me a call. I'd be happy to help you. So that is my analytical presentation on my analytical report, whether buying a home or renting a home is better. Thank you.